Hi, kids. In today's slideshow, we're going to scroll all the way down, down to our good buddy, Charles Babbage. Now, Charles Babbage is considered the father of computers. He starts on slide 32. So this is Charles Babbage. The guy was born in 1791, long time ago, and he came after, people like Jacquard and Leibniz and all these other people that you've seen before, Blaise Pascal. All these guys had these little calculation type machines, and Charles Babbage was this crazy smart mathematician, inventor, philosopher, some people say, and his brain was so smart. Like, he thought way out of the box than even the guys before him and the inventors. So these two videos will show you some things about him and how he was the father of the computers. However, he did not work alone. He started alone and worked with other mathematicians and stuff, but he ended up working with somebody named Ava Lovelace. Byron is her maiden name, the name of her father. And I will tell you about her in just a little bit. So Charles Babbage started building this difference engine, and it had calculations going through it. The deal is that he never really finished it. This picture here is done after his drawings actually became useful later, and people made his machines later. But he made this steam-driven machine and never really finished it. But his ideas were so good that he just didn't have the metals and the gears and all that stuff to finish it, because he went from the difference engine. And after 10 years, like it says here, he wasn't even complete. He had the designs, he had made the designs, but he didn't finish it. And then the government who was giving him money was like, dude, we are out. We can't anymore. You got to finish that thing. And they stopped giving him money. But in the meantime, he actually started thinking of a different type of engine called the analytic engine. And again, it was big and thoughtful and had these math computations run that made it work properly. And he used the idea from Jacquard's punch loom up here. Remember these punch cards that Jacquard built? They had certain codes popped into them, and when you put it into the machine just read the card and would create the loom. The tapestry. Well, he used Jacquard's ideas in this analytic engine, that if you just gave it a punch card, kind of the original code, then it would change that idea into data. Whoops, get back over here. So he actually named parts of this machine the store and the mill in honor of Jacquard's punch card, because it was used in the weaving industry, and those are terms used in the weaving industry. So kind of an homage to that. This type of thing he built, or was building or designing, became the foundation of what we use today. Your computer, your smartphone has these items in it. And this guy explains some of the features about it. But again, Charles Babbage didn't get that one finished. So he was off designing the next one. In Charles Babbage's years, it was really hard to just go out and get gear shifts and metals and things like that. Everything had to be made with him. Like, you couldn't just go buy it. You had to make every single part. And that was really time consuming. So while these machines were being built, he kind of started thinking of other things. So then he was on difference engine number 2. So he's like, hey, I got this other idea. I'm going to ditch this other analytical engine and start this difference engine idea that I have now. Okay, that's fine. But it means that he just didn't finish everything. But other people did. So after over 100 years, this group in England, they said, we're going to take his designs and we are going to build this difference engine. And so they ended up building it. It was over 8,000 parts. So again, in Charles Babbage's time, it was really hard. He had to build every single part, and that would have been almost impossible. But this is what his design would have looked like, although Charles never actually built it. Let's see if we can get this one a little bit bigger. But look at the way this thing works. You would have had to hand crank it. 8,000 parts. I just get mesmerized looking at this. See how the numbers all match? And at the end, it has a paper recording of the numbers that were used. So that actually became the foundation of our current computers. It may seem a little weird looking at that how it could be used, but trust me. His machines had basic functions that turned into our computer's idea of a looping system. That is exactly what our computers do today. But he could not have done it without the help of this lady. This literally lady, because she was royal. Hello, she was in the royal sort of world. She wasn't like the royal family, like Queen Elizabeth and our current like Prince William and stuff. But she was in that group. So her dad was Lord Byron. I'm going to tell you more about this guy later, but he was a real jerk. Lord Byron was a poet and real kind of out there sort of a thinker. But her mom and dad ended up separating. Like her dad bailed right away. He died when she was 8 years old. She didn't really know the guy. And her mom did not like Lord Byron, even though she married him. After a little bit, she was like, "No, this is not going to work." So the mom, said, "No way, Ada, you're not going to be a poet like your dad. I'm going to push science and math on you." And Ada, as a little girl, was like, "Sweet, I love math and science." So she actually ended up as a teenager being this like mathematician extraordinaire. Pretty crazy. Click this video, watch it about her. So she was helping this Italian guy, and the Italian guy was kind of looking at the designs for Babbage's work, and she was fascinated by it, and she helped clarify things and help it to be more understandable. And even though the machines were not actually built, Ada had gotten involved and started showing Babbage the calculations that would help these machines work properly. So here's a couple pictures. This is the end of the slides for this activity. But if you see these up close, if you Google Ada Lovelace calculations, like this, you'll get pictures of the calculations she made, which at the time, you know, she was born in 1815. She was only 37 when she died. It's really sad, actually. 36, 37, something like that. She ended up getting married, having 3 kids, like a good woman did in those days. But in the early 1800s, I'm sorry, women were not considered equal to men, even in England where they were. But her calculations were so amazing that people could not dismiss her. And this particular one goes to history.com. So check this out. This history.com page is super cool because it shows 10 things you may not know about Ada Lovelace. Okay, so this page, I love this page because it's always fun to learn the things that maybe aren't in the quick summaries of someone's life in their quick biographies. But like I said, Lord Byron was her father. He was this guy within the royal circle, and people thought he was kind of out there, but he was a very good poet. And this is so sad. The first words he spoke to his newborn daughter, Ava Lovelace, were, "Oh, what an implement of torture have I acquired in you." Imagine a brand new dad is like, "Oh, hi, baby. You're torture to me now." His wife was like, "Oh, man, we can't have this." And a month after Ada was born, Lord Byron, the dad, left because he was having an affair with some other lady. Anyway, so he bails and moves off, and he ends up dying in Greece when Ada was only 8. She never saw him. But the sad thing comes up at number 10. So anyway, so Ada's dad leaves, and the mom's like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I am not going to have my daughter act just like her father." So the mom was really good at math on her own. So she was like, "I'm going to make my daughter do things that I liked, and I don't want her to end up like her dad, this poet that just bails." So since Ada was 4, she had a math tutor and a science tutor, and that was unusual for women in the 1800s. But remember, her family was rich. They had a lot of money, so they could do things that the common woman couldn't do. And Ada was so smart that after, being a young girl, she does things like normal girls, but she also had the idea for a flying machine. Hello, just like Leonardo da Vinci, she comes up with these ideas. Though there were no airplanes flying around in the sky when she was alive. But she loved horses. She was kind of an active girl. She liked gymnastics and horses and being outside and doing things active. So she thought of the idea of a horse that could fly if it had these big, 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 big wings. And again, if you ever look at her calculations, which I highly recommend, you'd get the idea that she was way smarter than people even now. But she had an idea at 12 years old that for a flying horse. Okay. When she was 17, now remember, she was being groomed to do math. And she loved it. And she ends up meeting Charles Babbage. Remember the guy that was doing all these mathematical calculations to build these difference engines and analytical engines? So she was helping Luigi try to translate and understand Babbage's theoretical ideas, and she ended up understanding them where like most people wouldn't. And then she helped Babbage as partners, not as romance or anything like that. Now Babbage was way older than Ada, and they only worked as partners in math. They were not romantic in any way like that. And because of Ada's thinking and Babbage's thinking together, um, they were able to predict that computers could do more than just crunch numbers. Now, before these people, Pascal, Jacquard, Leibniz, all of the people before, they were just figuring out how to do math faster. Like John Napier and his Napier's bones, he was just trying to figure out how to do faster math, just numbers. It wasn't until Babbage and Lovelace came around where they said, you know what? Our machines can do more than just do math. And it wasn't until their thinking that we got the true foundation of our computers today. But Lovelace loved to gamble. She was a gambler, and unfortunately, she kind of lost a lot of money. But she had a lot of money to lose, even though she was married and stuff. Or she was married, had 3 kids. She probably shouldn't have been such a big gambler, but you know, what are you going to do? Now, you may have heard of a guy named Charles Dickens. He was a famous author. You'll read stuff from him in 8th grade for sure. I can't remember if the 7th grade teachers teach something by Charles Dickens. But if you read the 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, you know the guy. But she was buddies with him. Another famous guy that we read about is friends with Lovelace and Babbage. Remember, Lovelace comes from the royal circle of people. So she met a bunch of famous people in her life. Unfortunately, she did not live very long. She died of uterine cancer, which is probably something that they didn't know very much about at the time in the mid 1800s. But she died with her 3 kids. They're still pretty young. It was pretty sad. Now get this. What a kick in the pants, right? Lovelace was buried next to the father she never knew. She never knew Lord Byron. She did not deal with him at all in her life. He died when she was 8. Her mom did everything she could to make her not be like him. And yet she's buried next to him. Can you believe it? Now, Lovelace, in her circle, people knew she was crazy smart and this amazing mathematician. But it wasn't until like over 100 years later that people really figured out how amazing she was. And in honor of her, in the 1700s, in the 1970s, other way around, in the 1970s, the military actually named a coding program after Ada. It was called Ada. And they had used all of these different codes, and they ended up making one code that kind of, like, we didn't need all the other ones. So this one code was so amazing that they named it after the most amazing person in computer programming, which is our lady Lovelace right here.